Yay! Okay, so this video is for both Patty and for Terry's benefit and for Heather. I went into Patty's fall course and conducted a course visit and used Terry's notes um, as I did the visit. So let's go ahead and go through these things together. The first thing was profile and contact information. Last semester, um, the office hours needed to be up in the course calendar. A lot of us didn't know about this, so it impacted um, scores for a lot of people that just didn't know. But it's one of those things where at the half point mark, it would have been good for Terry to let the group know, hey, we're actually supposed to be using the course calendar. Here's how to do it. Just then so that everyone could earn the points. So I agree with Terry's assessment. She says contains required information except no office hours are listed in the course calendar. So this is her, and then I'm in the red. And so then this is my red feedback. Since office hours were supposed to be listed, and I promise I can spell, on the course calendar last semester, I can see why Terry scored you below in this category. Because the calendar tool doesn't need to be used this semester, this area of your classroom would receive a 5 or a 6 right now. Because there are punctuation concerns in the profile, these ought to be addressed, and the content is excellent. So if you look at your class, let's see if I can look at this, and you go just to your course content, this is the first thing your students see. It's such a beautiful and warm tone. There are just grammar and punctuation concerns. So if you'd like to meet with me about that later, to talk about some ways to clean that up, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. But that's something you could do to strengthen that part of the course. Okay, so for that one, the score would stay. But for this semester, I'd anticipate it being, at a 5, at a meet expectations. Well, let's see, plus all the things filled out. So it would be I'd be at a 6 or a 7. It'd be an exceeds. If you just update things, make sure they're clean and polished. Okay. The next one, the news page. You got a 5 in this area. Terry says the news page needs to be edited. And then this is my feedback. I agree with Terry's assessment here as well. The newsfeed does need to be edited to show the correct week for students specifically. Saying even though I say week 3, I mean week 2 is really confusing. It's wonderful that you have the notes that you're posting, but they need to be current. Every single week they have to show the right week so students aren't getting confused. I just saw that a couple times. One of them was, I know I say this, but I mean this, and another time it was like, welcome to week 3, and week 2 you'll be doing this. So that's just confusing. So just polish those before the week begins so that students can see that. I said you'd be a 7 in this category with more careful editing, watching for typos like you will lose points. I saw that in 2 of the videos you made. You will lose points if you do this instead of you will lose points. And then careful consideration each week of whether you're providing too much for students to wade through. I felt like in some of the weeks you achieved a great balance. You had instruction, you had spiritual thoughts, engaging visuals. But sometimes there were a lot of, that first week where there's so many required videos. I didn't know if that felt like that might be over the top. And my suggestion here was to let your student feedback in the spirit guide what you share each week. Obviously you have this content. It doesn't mean you have to use it for every class, every semester. Just consider what needs to be there. Make sure everything's carefully edited to avoid confusion, and you'll have great scores here. You obviously go above and beyond to serve your students. There's no question there. It's just that there needs to be more polish and care taken for each week. So let's look at, and then discussion boards. I have a hard time looking at discussion boards in iLearn3. I try, and I saw you engaging really well, but I just don't get a good picture. It's not as easy as iLearn2 for me to look at. Terry says Patty actively engages students in a timely manner. I believe she gave you a 6 here. And I said, based on my review of discussion boards, I give you a 7 in this area. You're not only flesh out instructions for students in the discussion boards, but you're an active participant. I thought that was really neat. I looked at an interaction with your student back and forth where you were like, look at this video feedback and see if this impacts your understanding. She's like, oh, that helps so much. Thank you. And so I would say that you're at a 7 there for all the effort you put into those discussion boards. With grades, Terry gave you a 6 and said you're consistently within grading, with grading within 7 days. But having talked to you, I know you do usually a 1 to 2 day turnaround, so you would have full points for that. I'd award a 7 there. Assignment feedback. Students receive meaningful feedback on a consistent basis. I agree with Terry, but I'd give a 7 based on my knowledge of of your class-wide feedback and also your detailed personal feedback. So I would put that at a 7. And I'd like to note these discrepancies, these score discrepancies aren't big. The overall scores, after looking at Terry's scores and my scores, Terry's score for you is a 5.4. My score for you is a 6.3. That's within 1 point. And these are just people going in and touring your class. So anyway, just to keep that in mind, there's really very little discrepancy, but I hope this is, useful anyway. Okay. The other things that were assessed: building faith in Christ. You got a 5 from Terry. She says include spiritual thoughts. However, there could be more of a consistent connection in the course material. I reviewed some of the spiritual threads and I see how they relate to course content. I also like the discussion boards are linked to spiritual content, so this class can strengthen each other's faith in Christ. I'd say this is a 7. And I couldn't see all those discussion boards. I was just going on your comments, Patty, that you do link to a spiritual thread for every week. And then develop relationships with and among students. Terry says meets all criteria, but newsfeed needs to be edited. I wrote, while I agree that the newsfeed needs to be edited, Patty also goes above and beyond to reach students and serve them, so I'd score this as a 7. For this category, I believe you exceed. Okay. Inspire love for learning. Terry writes, because of the type of course content found in our 107, there's a natural connection to the gospel. Patty could create a stronger connection between course materials and the gospel. By doing this, it provides opportunity for the students to apply both course content and the gospel into their own lives. And I wrote, I believe that Patty inspires love of learning in the exceeds category. Her enthusiasm and warmth are palpable. I'd award this area a 7. So again, I'm just looking at the rubric, and that's where I'm seeing it match. Let's see, for Embrace University Citizenship, Terry awarded you a 6 here. She says, Patty participates in her teaching group and online community. She exemplifies the university's mission. She's almost always current with her communications and responsibilities. This cut off, but I wrote, I agree with Terry's assessment here. I believe she'll support her TGL and group well this semester, as she's already demonstrated in her OCR training in the first group meeting. I thought, Patty, that you made yourself very accessible to the teachers, and I know that you want to support Terry, so that should be a good place for you. Seek development opportunities. I think, again, it was a 6 here. And Terry writes, Patty strives to keep up to date with technology and learning more about iLearn 3, which is true. I also added Patty is a shining star here, and I did not spell shining correctly. Working consistently with course leads to strengthen the course and share her resources with her colleagues, so I'd award a 7 in this area. So as I said, that the overall is Terry had awarded you a 5.4. Mine would be a 6.3. In both cases, you've done a great job. There is room for improvement, and I hope that this video is instructive. Please email me with any questions or concerns or thoughts. Thanks.